Simon Hill, Brisbane Roar a decade ago were just celebrating going back to back. It looked like there was an era of dominance coming up last season. Of course, they finished second last. So realistically, how optimistic do you think the Brisbane fans should be this coming season?
Yeah, it's hard to know, really. I think it's a club still in transition. I think there are some positive signs, certainly off the pitch. You know, the arrival of Ante Kovacevic and Matt Smith in terms of the football department. I know they've had a bit of a rejig. Chris Fong is doing a double role, chairman and CEO. Whether that's the right thing, I don't know, but I guess we'll find out. And of course, they're returning to Suncorp as well, at least for a handful of games. And I know that will be popular with the Brisbane fans. But it still feels as though it's a bit of a club in transition. They're a long way off, you know, what they were 10 years ago. I think on the pitch there are two key questions. Last year they struggled for goals. So can Charlie Austin and Riku Danzaki provide those goals? And at the other end of the pitch, and we've seen this in the Australia Cup, they've played NPL opposition 3 times and they've conceded 6 goals. The key for it for me is keeping Tom Aldred fit. He is the linchpin of that defence. I know they've repatriated Jordan Courtney Perkins as well, which is a good move. I think he'll be better for the experience having played in Poland. But those are the two big questions, and of course, you know, whether they'll keep patience with Warren Moon.
Roy O'Donovan, Simon just touched on Charlie Austin's arrival. Juan Lascano was, let's be honest, a bit of a disappointment last year, and he's been replaced by a guy with proven goal-scoring experience in the English Premier League. That's got to be an upgrade, doesn't it?
It's a definite upgrade. He's no doubt a goal scorer all through his career. He's touched on in his interviews about hitting 200 career goals, which is a huge number for most players. But look, Lascano last year didn't hit the mark, didn't fit the style of football that Brisbane wanted to play. So Charlie Austin, a goal scorer, he needs service. So I've watched him in the pre-season games. He doesn't look like he has maybe the legs he used to have, but he still knows where the back of the net is. So my advice to him would be stay in the box and don't be getting involved in the build-up play too much. Let the likes of Danzaki, Henry Hoare, Jay O'Shea do all the hard work and him finish the chances, which they struggled to do last year.
So they're gonna need runners around Charlie Austin, obviously, because he's not got that mobility. Have they got that in the squad, do you think, Roy?
They've got loads of mobility in the squad, yeah. I mean, you look at Millie Usinic, another player I think is terrific. They've brought Joe Knowles in he was on trial in the pre-season, and he looks like he's got loads of legs, so maybe he's the one for the last 20 minutes of games, or if they do go with 2 up top. But yeah, look, he needs lots of legs. I think for the games I've watched, he's been too honest. He's trying to link the play, be the number 10 and the number 9, but realistically, he's there to finish the chances that they have to create. They've got loads of pace out wide. That's where their strength is. As you touched on, they need Tommy Aldred to stay in the park, Scott Neville. They need experience at the back. They haven't got the biggest squad. So if they can do that, they'll have a pretty solid season. But it's a big if.
Sorry to interrupt, Tom. Can I ask you a question? As a player who came here from overseas, and you played at the top level in the UK, Charlie Austin's done the same thing. I remember when Robbie Fowler came here many years ago, and he sort of got into that mode of dropping deep. In fact, I think they actually played him in midfield at Perth at one stage. Can you get frustrated by your teammates and therefore drop deeper to try and, you know, use your experience to link up the play? And does that damage the team in some ways if you're doing it against instructions, maybe?
Well, yeah, look, I can understand how that can happen.
It's a temptation, isn't it?
There is a temptation to show, look how good you are, and look, I've got a good touch, and I'm a clever football player. But ultimately, you're there to score goals as a number 9. So I heard Erling Haaland the other day say, if I touch the ball 5 times and score 5 goals, that's the perfect game. And
that's normally what he does.
You know, he does, exactly. But that for a striker, for me anyway, my mindset is score goals. So yeah, I think he needs to not get involved too much. You know, there's times in the game you have to, but yeah, be more selfish, and the team will thank him for it.
Simon, you mentioned Warren Moon. The club have backed him by bringing Charlie Austin in, but it was a disappointing year last year. How much does he need a good start, do you think?
Absolutely. I think generally there's a bit of discontent around Brisbane. A lot of the fan base not particularly happy with, you know, playing the majority of games 45 minutes outside of Brisbane. The return to Suncorp for 3 matches will help, but I think ultimately it's about results for Warren. They showed faith in him, and they're continuing that faith. But yeah, he needs to, I think, show some progress this season. They finished one off the bottom last year. I don't think anybody expects them to win it this year, but I think the fan base will be expecting that they challenge for the top 6. And I just look, Charlie Austin aside. I look at the recruitment that Warren's done during the off-season. I'm not saying they're bad players, by the way, by any means, but it looks a little bit familiar. Rico Danzaki's returning, Jordan Courtney-Perkins is returning. They brought in Carlo Armiento, who's now at his 3rd A-League club. He's only started 9 senior games in his career. I know he's had a serious injury. Luka Ivanovic has gone the other way to Perth. And I know it's difficult for A-League clubs with recruitment because money is tight, but you just hope that he's got enough depth and enough quality in that squad to challenge for the top 6. I think they'll be sort of there or thereabouts, the top 6, but I don't think really they've got enough to challenge the top teams. So I'll probably be completely wrong, because we always are at this stage of the season.